Well, I'm back in Calgary, evidently. Today's Friday, April 28th. I got home Wednesday, I think around 3 o'clock. So I started in, where was I? Somewhere like 650 clicks away. And spent the night in a very nice, super like 4-star hotel. Except the garage they had over there, it was so tight. And when I parked my car, I managed to park my Jeep inside there. Like, the turn there you have to make and then go inside, and everything is so low. And it's, the sign said, I think, 6 feet 8 inches. And then I see a guy unloading, hold on one second. A guy unloading a huge, Kamloops. That's what I was trying to remember. Yeah, I spent the night Tuesday to Wednesday was in Kamloops, and so I see a guy unloading a huge white like Navigator, like one of those humongous SUVs, and it's definitely taller than my Jeep, And so then I went to do some shopping. There was a plaza across the street, and I come back, and this guy, I see he's like driving like this, because it's not clear. At the hotel they tell you, oh, just go through under the canopy and turn right, and you will see the entrance to the underground, parking. And it's very easy to miss, because you have to make a super sharp turn into like a alley, like very not a good setup. And I see this guy, he missed that, and he's already in the middle of the parking lot, and some Chinese guy. And so I come over, I just wave to him, and I say, hey, it's over there. And he opens the window. I said, you looking for a parking, underground parking? He says, yeah. I said, well, I don't think your SUV will fit in there. I said, I barely made it with my Jeep. And this guy looks in there and he says, you're probably right. Like, it's funny, right? So when you check in, they don't ask you like how big is your vehicle, They says, yeah, just go over there, turn right and you will see the entrance. But I think they should tell people, it's not for large vehicles, like especially, well, a regular pickup truck maybe, but a huge SUV like that, or let's say if you have like a minivan, like a tall minivan, I don't know. But anyway, so I saved the guy's life, I think. Oh, I saved him from his wife's anger if he were to go in there and smash the SUV into the ceiling, because it's really low. And then inside, like, I was able to do a U-turn, park with my back towards the wall, and then that's still BC, of course, right? Kamloops, you're still 1 hour back compared to Calgary time, so it's like Pacific time, right? And I look at the clock, I don't want to sleep at 6 o'clock in the morning local time, and I'm thinking, okay, wait, that's already 7, so it's already light, so might as well start trucking or driving. And I went, they had the Americano coffee in the lobby, like a Starbucks logo. Very nice hotel. I think it was called Delta, like inside, everything like new, amazing. In the middle of nowhere, in a small town. I think it was $150 Canadian. But there were cheaper options, but I decided to splash a bit, and spend the night at a nice hotel because I was doing so much driving. And so, yeah, I got some gas, and of course there, BC, that's why they say BC stands for bring cash. Everything is more money than here or in Ontario. Like, gas was more expensive. Like here it was like regular 87 gas for Jeep was like $1.46 Canadian per liter. Over there it's like $1.76, and diesel was the same, like basically 30 cents per liter more. Yeah, of course there's almost four liters in a gallon, US gallon, so that's like $1.20, right? Extra if you compare it like US gallon BC to here. So over there it's at least probably $1.20 Canadian, so like $US more, So that's what you get. You have to pay for the privilege of living in a warmer climate, I'm guessing. But on the way back, the entire time it was raining. And when I was driving down there, it was Sunday. So all the construction sites, even though there were signs, construction, but they were turned away. So everything was closed. Nobody was working. But this time it was Wednesday, right? And then partially Tuesday. So Tuesday I took the ferry, right? And I drove to Kamloops, like 300 clicks or 3.5 hours in traffic, right? And even there I already saw lots of construction going east towards Alberta. And then Wednesday it's like stop and go, Took a long time to do this 650 clicks to Kamloops. From Kamloops to Alberta. And it's all like very dark sky, it's drizzling, it's like either heavy rain or then a light drizzle, and it's very gloomy because and then of course there's mountains right next to like snow-covered peaks in there. And I saw that pass, that you see, the TV show about wrecker drivers when they have so many accidents over there on one of those passes. I was there. I drove on that pass. It's really steep, like the hill, and they have huge shoulders, and that's where all these accidents happen when they have snow. And of course there's a chains on, like the spots for where you stop to chain your truck and then chains off. Man, I don't envy people that have to chain over there, because it's not just one mountain, right? It's you put them on, you climb over the mountain, you have to take them off, then a couple of clicks away, okay, chaining area. Again, you have to chain. That's just stupid, because it'll take, might as well wait for the better weather, because with this chaining on and off, and then you cannot drive more than 40 miles an hour or something, right? It'll take you all day just to cover maybe, 200 miles, It's a very inefficient use of truckers' time. But if you don't have chains, that's where you get stuck, and that's how they get to film that TV show, right? So anyway, I made it, and as soon as you enter Alberta, like finally I see a sign just before Banff, I see a sign that says, "Welcome to Alberta." Right away, the sun broke through clouds, the rain stopped, like I'm not kidding. The weather became much better because I was out of the mountains. And then up to Banff, a very long stretch, it's like probably, 30 clicks. The speed limit was 90 kilometers an hour. But then once you pass Banff, it's 110. So finally you can do like 120, nobody will give you a ticket. And so we all started. And so I was here at 2 o'clock, and a guy bought a lens, and he's in Ottawa, right? Ottawa, Ontario, on the other side of the country. And I said, I cannot ship you this lens unless you pay me. And of course his risk is like, how do you pay somebody that you never met in your life, and it's, I think it was like $1,300 Canadian. And he wanted me to do a video. He says, could you, when you're back home, can you just do a video, or maybe we can do like a Zoom call or something? And I said, okay, I'll do a video. That's why I posted it. You saw a couple of videos. I posted lens for sale and camera for sale. It's because one of them was for this guy in Ottawa, and the camera was for a guy. He's also somewhere in Ontario, Lots of attention for this expensive camera, because brand new, they're like $7,000, But right now, I'm just trying to downsize to something a bit smaller, because it's a bit big, It's like the camera is amazing, like the Z9, but it's just chunky, right? So you need this big bag, special bag. You cannot just go for a stroll and have it in a regular shoulder bag, because it's square. It doesn't fit into a regular bag. And that's my only complaint. That and the shutter sound. The shutter sound is like this. No, wait. Oh, like this probably. When you click the shutter. I'm more used to like traditional, sound, but this $7,000 Canadian camera, Canadian funds, but it makes just a funny noise when you click the shutter. I think they should have just simulated that, just because it makes it so much more satisfying when you click and it's like click, like a regular camera sound. But anyway, so that's what I did. I did those 2 quick videos, and I put them on YouTube unlisted, and I sent a link to this guy in Ottawa. And then I thought, what the heck? Let me make them public. And so I made them public so everybody could see them, just in case somebody decides to, if this guy doesn't buy it. And so I shipped it to him, and he gave me $50 for shipping. I went to UPS because of course he wants it next business day, and I had to pay them to wrap it up properly. It's a fragile item. Cost me $90, which was Canadian, of course. So $70 was next day delivery by air, and the rest was like $20 they charged me for all these pellets, that white stuff to protect the box, and the wrap. He used the bubble wrap, and of course his box. $90. So I didn't make too much money on this, but I did make something compared to what I paid for it. Was it 2.5 weeks ago? Now, funny enough, I'm coming back from Vancouver, right? And my boss or colleague calls me yesterday. He says, okay, I'm going away for a couple of days. I'll be working remotely. If you need me, just know that I'll be. I said, where are you going? He says, Vancouver. So I just came from there. What? It turns out our big logistics company have some kind of a big event in there, some kind of a meeting for best agents. Like this time, I didn't get any medals. I didn't qualify. Nobody invited me. And so the boss is in Vancouver, where I just came from. Now, I was working last week, speaking about freight and logistics. Last week, I got a request for a quote, and it's a combine harvester, one of those ugly machines to cut crops. And the shipper sent me dimensions, weight, sent me a link to the auction picture. By the way, here's the picture. And as soon as I saw the dimensions, I'm like, oh my God, like 13 feet 1 inch tall and 13 feet 6 inches wide, and 36 feet long and 40,000 pounds. And for some reason, they sent me everything in metric. So even though I grew up with metric, but I had to convert everything to feet and pounds, because that's how I think nowadays. And many people are like that. Many truckers, right? And this was shipping from Eastern Canada to Port of Baltimore. And the shipper didn't mention anything about a bond. All they said was that the header will be removed. So now, of course, I had to research what the header was, because it was not in the picture. So it turns out it's that super wide thing with spinning thingies that cuts the crops, right? So, and again, they didn't specify, is it coming with, or is it gonna be left behind, right? So when the shipper is telling me this, so the header will be removed, but we wanted to ship this harvester. These are the dimensions. This is the weight, and so okay, so I go on the assumption that header is not going to be in the picture, because that's like a super big part, right? And no bond, so I find a carrier. I didn't ask him for a bond. We're just looking for one truck, right? And of course, right away, 13.1 tall, right? As a trucker, I saw these loads, but you understand the typical lowboy trailer, like my drop side rail was 15 inches, but it's a drop side rail. Not always can you load something like this harvester, because of that floor design, right? So you need I would say you would be better off with a level floor. But my 60 ton, which had a level floor, it was 22 inches loaded deck height, but that's only with full load. So if you load 60 tons, yeah, it'll be 22. But if you load something like 40,000 pounds, it's not going to be 22, it's going to be 24, you know, right? Because that rating they give you, loaded deck height, that's for full weight. Less weight, higher. So, and imagine, so it's going to be 2 feet tall, right? And the machine is 13.1. So let's say 13. So 13 plus 2 is 15. And this goes through New York, Pennsylvania. It would be a nightmare, you know. And so I go online to this website where I can estimate the cost of permits, and I put in all the dimensions, and I have already presets with different trailers there. And I didn't see anything super low, but I see one where it says 18-inch deck height. Okay, I choose that one because at least 18 is better than 24. And then I run the permits. Turns out like the distance was 1,200 miles. So it turns out the permits and pilots, and this load would need a pilot in every jurisdiction. So the entire cost will be around 4,500 US, 4,500 US. And so I send it to the shipper. I said, "Are you aware of this?" And they say, "Oh, wow. We did not think it would be this expensive." I said, "Well, you're shipping 13.1, you know, height and 13.6 width." And then I started researching online because I see the make and model on the side of the machine. I started searching online, and I see actually one site lists the same machine, and it says transport width is 3 instead of 4.15 meters, which was 13.6, it says something like 3.29 meters, which is pretty much like 11 feet. You know, that's a huge difference. And so right away I emailed the shipper. I said, "Can you double check the dimensions?" And she said, "Yeah, we also looked online, but our customer, the actual shipper, insists that it's 4.15 meters or 13 feet 6 inches wide." And I said, "Well, it's going to be very expensive to move this." And so I get him a quote from a carrier, and no response. No, actually I did for the first time, you know, like we're using this TMS, right? Transportation Management Software. And usually before, when people ask me for quotes, I would just, you know, get the rate and just send them a quick email, you know, "Hey, it's going to cost this much." And it's not good because you have to add all, you know, terms and conditions, right? Let's say, you know, 2 hours for loading or 3 hours for loading, border crossing delays, you know, can result in, you know, extra driver pay, stuff like that, right? Like who takes care of the windshields and stuff like that? Do you have to protect, you know, the glass on the machine? And so now I decided, since I was sitting doing nothing and I have this one quote to work on, and I called my friend, the same, you know, the boss, right, who's now in Vancouver. I said, "Can you show me how to do it on the TMS, like the proper way?" Right? So on the TMS, it creates all these forms, you know, like really real nifty. And then you can type in a special field all these conditions, and then when you click send, my customer, or the shipper as I call him, receives a very nice official, you know, quotation, right? Basically transportation rate quote with my name in there, and here's the rate. These are all the conditions, you know, very nice looking form, not just like an email, you know, like, "Hey, it's gonna cost like $10,000. No, here. And so that's, you know, that's how you're supposed to do it. Of course, it takes time because you have to set up the customer who gave me this load. Then you have to quickly set up the load, but, you know, at least like dimensions, weight, and then at least put in the zip code or postal code from where it's coming out of and where it's going to, right? And then you can do a quotation. And actually, I'm pretty sure once I do it like a couple of times, I'm not gonna have issues with it because it's the same every time, right? But it was, interesting experience. So basically, I still keep learning this TMS. It's a very complex piece of software that brokers use. So transportation management software. That's where you have all your clients, all your carriers. That's where you keep all the paperwork. It's automatically saved. But this thing, it can generate all these emails by itself, right? When you do this quote, and you click send, it just sends everything to the customer. And they have a built-in button in there in the email. It'll say accept or deny or something like that. Basically, turn down. And my customer emailed me back. She said, well, we found somebody cheaper. We're sorry. I said, okay. And that brings me to the rule. I think my boss always says it takes 50 quotes to get one load. What was it, 100? I think it was 50. I remember the number 5 somewhere there. So you have to do, people call you, email you, hey, can we get a quote, right? So you have to do 50 of those to get one finally customer agree and, and give you the load. And then you just hope that the carrier you chose is a decent carrier and is not going to let you down. So that was my experience with this combine. Of course, a very tricky load. But by the way, I looked on Fontaine Heavy Haul because I remember they did have a very low profile trailer. And it's a lightweight, it's like 30 ton. But they have 2 models. One is loaded deck height is 14 inches. And the other one, I think, is totally ridiculous, 12 inches. And these are still, they're not metal floor, they're still light. It's just that these trailers are designed for loads like this combine, So, some people go in the direction of big and heavy and many axles like what I did, but then another direction is focus on something tall and long but light, like relatively, like 40,000 pound combine, right? So if you had a trailer like that, if I had a trailer like that when I was a trekker, I could have done a lot of loads, like let's say 12-inch tall load. Except of course it would be great to have at least 50 ton capacity, because 30 ton it's a bit low. Because a lot of loads, let's say some generator, right? Let's say somebody offers you like a 13.6 tall generator. Those are famous for being tall, right? But it can be, 50, 60, 70,000 pounds, right? So this particular trailer that I was thinking about, like 30 ton, it's not going to work. You'll just break it. But those trailers, can be very, very useful with tall machinery. Now, in other news, yesterday went for a drive in my Hellcat. The weather was good. Went on a country road, pushed the gas down a little bit. Right away, I look in my mirror, there's a Ford Mustang behind me, trying to catch up. What the heck? So I turned on the side road, did a U-turn, and came back. So no fun with a Mustang behind you. So today is gonna be probably raining soon. By the way, time 8:26, because I'm gonna go visit a guy in downtown there. Yeah, but I think later today, if it doesn't rain, I'm gonna go for a drive and do a video in a Hellcat about the differences between track mode and sport mode. I think I tried track mode once, and what I noticed is that the suspension really changes, like the feeling of the suspension. When you go from regular to sport to track, the suspension becomes hotter and hotter. Basically, you go over a bump, and it's like, you're sitting on a pavement, not very comfortable. But that was just initial impression. I really want to look into it and give you guys the, thorough review. So we're going to do it hopefully later today. If not, maybe tomorrow, Saturday. Yeah, it's a bit gloomy, dark and gloomy, kind of reminds me of British Columbia. And the situation with the new Hellcats, that crazy dealer in Manitoba who at first was selling them for 97,000, 22 models, 22 Challenger. And then all of a sudden he started selling them for $199, and now I see all the 3 cars that he had show sold. Sold. So now the entire Canada has 9 cars like mine, 22-year model, Challenger 2-door, regular Hellcat, 717 horsepower. So we have 9, right? At the beginning of the year we had 16 or 15. Yeah, I think 16. And then 15, 14, 12, now it's 9. So I'm counting till they disappear, because yeah, they can bring them from US, but because of the dollar difference, US versus Canadian, it's not exactly cheap. Plus you have to pay, I know, GST, HST, whatever. I don't think it's cheap to bring a car from US here. Let's say, you know, oh, and that red Hellcat is still here. The East Side Dodge, where I showed that car. I took a few pictures. That red Dodge, red Hellcat still sits there, and they didn't change the price. It's still, I think, 110,000 Canadian. But we're getting somewhere. So from 16 cars, we're down to 9. But of course, now mine is not brand new, right? So I have what, like 2,000 kilometers on it? No, maybe 1,500 kilometers on it. But still, I'm just hoping that once we have like one Hellcat somewhere in Canada, because yeah, this is 9. That's for the entire Canada. I did a search with my postal code or zip code, and they said, "What do you wanna, like? How far do you wanna look?" I said national, and so it gave me the entire Canada has 9 cars like this, like mine. And last but not least, I was practicing on this accordion that I brought, right, from Victoria. Nice accordion, but of course, you know, when you check it at the store, you know, everybody's in a rush. I thought we checked everything, but turns out there's a couple of minor defects. And I searched yesterday on Google here to see if there's any local technicians just to fix a couple of buttons there. Found one guy who advertises on Kijiji as the specialist, and his picture shows lots of accordions, and he says, "I don't buy them, I don't sell them, I just fix them. This has been in my family for a long time. You know, we've been fixing accordions." And then I see this specialist. He has another, like, you know, see his other ads, right? So you can click on his other ads. So this ad is about fixing accordions, and then I click on the other ad, and it says masonry, bricklaying, experienced bricklayer or tile layer. Like, so it's kind of like funny, right? So, you know, you give a guy, you know, it's a pretty expensive instrument, right? And so are you a repair technician or are you a bricklayer? And there was his phone number was there. So I said, okay, I want to call this guy. So I called this guy, and he sounds like Italian, which actually gives me hope, because of course Italians, that's where all the accordions come from. And we start talking. I said, I'm just curious about this masonry business. Like, are you a technician to repair accordions, or? And he says, well, there's not that much work in Calgary, in Alberta, for accordions anymore. He says, so yeah, he's been doing that all his life, but now he's kind of like diversified. I'm not sure how he figured out the direction. Like accordions, okay, no, I don't have enough work with accordions. I'm gonna lay tile. And so I'm a bit afraid, a bit skeptical, but the guy sounded nice on the phone. And so we agreed that today at 10 o'clock, so I have to leave like in half an hour because he's like 20 clicks away, closer to downtown. I said, okay, I'm gonna bring you this accordion and you tell me how expensive is it? Because the funny thing happened, you know, like in Russia we have a saying, 7 пятниц на неделе. This guy has 7 Fridays in 1 week. That's what we call somebody who changes his mind. So basically I played that accordion 3 times, and now it started giving me this trouble with these buttons, right? And I look at my Dino Buffetti, which is still sits there right next to this new black accordion. Well, new for me. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? That one has 5 reeds, this one has 3, that one is perfect. I bought it new. all buttons work, everything works. I don't have to fix anything. This one, so I emailed the seller where I bought the accordion. I said, I think I made a mistake with this one. I think I want to go back to my Russian folk button accordion, But of course, BC is 1 hour back, right? So I sent it to him yesterday in around like 4 o'clock, and they close at 2. So I don't know if he's gonna answer me or not, but I said I'm just curious what the policy is like. I know it's a used instrument, like once you buy it, that's it, you're stuck with it. What if you change your mind, right? There should be some kind of a I'm just looking here if I see any emails from this guy. Which email did I use? Okay, this one. Yeah, I just said, I found some minor issues, and then I decided I probably should get back. I think all I needed was, because I was practicing on that Russian button accordion like every day, like 15-20 minutes, but pretty much every day with some occasional, maybe a break once a week. And so I think I just needed a respite. And so now I didn't play it for a month, and I want to get back, So I have all my little songs in here ready to go. So basically the plan is I just want to restart my my video lessons that I have. Just gonna I reached number 9, and I was already playing Barыня, Mademoiselle, Fräulein, the Russian song. And so, but now of course I haven't played for a month, so I want to go back and just restart from lesson 1, and just quickly go through like 1, 2, 3, 4 and reach back 9, and then keep going because I have like 50 lessons, So those are the news. So the freight business is slow, but something is happening. Every day I'm learning something new with this computer system, TMS, and I'm talking to people, like doing quotes. This was just one example with this combine. But it's interesting. It's interesting. You have to work with numbers, you have to work with people, you have to work with computers. Of course, you have to research, like in this case with this combine, right? I have to basically work with databases, like estimate cost of permits. I have to look at maps, like, okay, I want to confirm the distance. And then, of course, another thing to keep in mind is that when you have an oversized load, from my experience, rarely the permits will send you like the same way the Google Maps sends you, right? There'll always be detours. And I remember when I was at the end of my trucking heavy haul career, I just added 10%. Let's say if the distance, like origin to destination, like in this case was 1,200 miles, automatically my little spreadsheet would add 10%, and I would charge the customer for 1,200 plus 120, because quite often you have big detours, especially with a load like this, like 13 feet tall. So I knew that it would be very difficult to ship. So next time if somebody offers me something unrealistic like this, I'm just gonna pass. I'm just gonna say sorry. Because like one guy gave me a quote, but I don't know, they found somebody way cheaper than what I offered. So again, those are the news. So Friday, end of the week. Moving on. Thanks for watching.